Welcome into the SBR Betting Roundtable alongside Donnie Rightside, Ian Cameron, Jeff Nadeau. I am Drew Martin. We're going to be hitting on some NFL first, then going over some Canadian sports real quick and college football, and then we got best bets at the end. So we'll get all three guys' opinions, all things sports betting to go today for the next 45 minutes, maybe hour or so. So let's go right around the horn. Guys, just a little introduction, what you're seeing betting-wise this week. Donnie Rightside, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, man, doing good. My Philadelphia Eagles sitting on top of the world right now, suffered a little bit of injuries. But again, it's always nice to have a bye week on deck when the 49ers come to town. So looking forward to that. But a lot to go over. Major League Baseball World Series in play last night. I don't know what. Hey, you could say global warming, yes or no. But, 100-degree Los Angeles day temperature yesterday really played into that game. Two hot pitchers on the mound with a hot environment. Should look forward to it tonight. But a lot of stuff going on right now. Happy to be here. And I'm excited for this weekend, man.
Good stuff, Donnie. And guys in the chat box, feel free to chime in. Dale, Matthew, what's up, guys? Adam, Mark, and Vitalis. Ian Cameron, find him on Twitter at Babano. Ian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, awesome. Great to be here. A busy time of year, NFL, college football, hockey's going, World Series going, and don't look now, 16 days away from college basketball, first games of the season. It's a great time of year.
Oh, man, college basketball right around the horn. And speaking of that, let's bring him in. Jeff Nadeau, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing okay. Drew, yourself?
Doing well. We got a good roundtable here, guys. Zach Jones, what's up? Craig West, Sports Capper. Guys, let's start off with the NFL. We got bet on and fade teams. Who wants to start us off? Jeff, you want to start us off? Who's your bet on team in the NFL?
The Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I mean, Drew, they haven't won a division since 1999. They're solely in first place in a division that, look, I mean, you got Houston, but overall, I think they're really overachieving and playing very well. They've had an awesome year. You look at even the last game they played, 518 yards against the hapless Colts, but they did it with TJ or not TJ Fournette, Leonard Fournette, TJ Yeldon that was in there. He killed it. TJ Yeldon's a good second back they have there. Chris Ivory involved as well. So they have a little bit of a three-headed monster. So when Fournette can't go or he's injured, you could kind of, fall back on Yeldon. And look, Blake Bortles has been pretty good this year, and that's the key to their success. I mean, he's turned the ball over a couple times, but it hasn't been those terrible turnovers and bad spots or anything. And I haven't even gotten to the defense yet. This defense is very stout. I mean, lead the league in sacks, takeaways, interceptions. They had another 10-sack game the other day. I think they did, right?
Yes.
Just amazing what they've done overall. This defensive line's been fantastic. I think they see their eye on the prize. They won a division crown. Leonard Fournette was a great pick. He was one of those running backs, Donnie, that when we talked about the draft, he was a guy to me that I think was a top 10 caliber player. If he could stay healthy, he, as we've seen, is a load in the NFL. You don't really want to move on a running back much anymore early in the draft, but he is one you make a move on. I really like what I'm seeing from the Jags. I think it's something that they're starting to turn some heads, like their defense. Blake's not turning the ball over. Got a franchise player in Fournette if he could stay healthy. Like the Jags a lot.
Yeah, I like that play, Jeff. Donnie, you got another one for us?
Yeah, give me a bet on team right now. A famous actor, famous governor once said these magical words: "Go Chargers, go." I'm going to take the Chargers as a hot team moving forward, and they're in another good spot for me this week. If you're laying points with the Chargers, I'm not that enthusiastic. But if the Chargers are getting points, they're always in the game in the fourth quarter. Look at the last three games. Getting 3 points from the Giants, end up beating them 27-22. Getting 3 points from Oakland, beating them 17-16. Getting 1 point from Denver, beating them 21-0. Now you're going to look and go on the road. I know, hey, everybody saw Tom Brady last week. Boy, they're back on track. The Chargers will hang close again, getting over a touchdown on this one, 7.5, the most outlets there. They're my buy-on team right now when they're getting points. Go, Chargers, go.
Donnie, is something you're bringing into this kind of their unique situation with where they're playing their home games and them taking, a few weeks to kind of get acclimated to that?
I don't know if it's so much there. I mean, it's always nice to have a home field advantage, but that's just the Chargers' MO. Whether they were at Qualcomm in the past or where they're playing, the Chargers just seem, when they need to win the football game, they're probably not going to win it. But it's one of those teams where Phillip Rivers getting 3.5 or more points. He's a really good typical fourth quarter quarterback that can bring you down the field, he specializes in the 5-yard out where you just need to move the football down the field. That's what I like about him. If you're looking at giving me 7 or 7+ with the Chargers in any environment, home or away, I'm going to lean on taking Phillip Rivers because it's very rare that he quits on the ball club. The team's coming along well, a couple straight wins, almost beat the Eagles. Should be 4 straight wins if that game goes one way or another. But hey, I'm going to buy the Chargers right now, especially getting points here.
All right, man. Can we get one more Arnold?
Go, Chargers, go. Get to the chopper. There you go.
Thanks, bro. All right. At Babano, Ian Cameron, what do you got?
I remember those Arnold Schwarzenegger commercials when he was promoting California. Visit California. I only have one question for you. When can you start? And he'd always say that basically, when can you start to come to California? And those commercials just drove me nuts because they always aired here all the time in Canada. But actually, Donnie stole some of my thunder. I was looking at Chargers as a bet on team for sure, especially on the road. And guess where they are this week? On the road. I mean, they just feel like they're comfortable in their own skin, although they finally did have a good game and a home win against Denver last week. I think that was probably a little bit more bad Denver as much as it was good Chargers, but I still like the way this team is coming together. Phillip Rivers playing well. They're starting to build a nice little defense here with this LA Chargers team as well. Joey Bosa and company getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. That secondary's managed to, stem the tide of some early struggles and are playing better in terms of defending against the pass as well, which has been a positive for the LA Chargers. So good signs from them. I'm going to mention another one just to keep it a different perspective. Even though they're a little banged up, Houston Texans for me, they're in a good spot here, coming off a bye week here this week. Even in Seattle, I'm still not convinced Seattle's all that great. The great shakes. Let me see what you can do. You were fortunate to beat the Rams. I mean, very fortunate. I mean, they got outgained by 134 yards in that football game. Even though they won 16-10, they beat the New York Giants. Good for you. Everybody's beaten the New York Giants. Indianapolis is terrible. Tennessee was a loss for them on the road. San Francisco, they lose at Green Bay. Where's the quality victories? I mean, the Rams win is good, but again, heavily outgained. Houston's in a spot here where they're, even with the injuries, you got Deshaun Watson playing well, team with the rest, off a bye. Houston to me, and along with the Chargers, teams I'll be looking to back this week.
Yeah, guys, good bet on teams. We also got fade teams want to get into in the NFL. Just want to bring up, remember to go to the SBR Best Sportsbook page to really see what sportsbooks to go with. The A+, the A-rated sportsbooks, who's paying the fastest, what's the best lines for certain sports, things like that. So make sure to check that out, clicking around on the SBR homepage. But guys, let's get into to fade teams. Jeff, you want to you got a fade team for us in the NFL?
Yeah, I heard someone mention Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, by the way, guys, I don't know if many people know, great grandson of a big mob boss in Chicago. I don't know if anyone knows that. I've done some research on that. A fairly interesting person, his great-grandfather. He was a de facto boss after Al Capone went away. He headed the outfit for 30 years or so. Interesting bloodlines there for Bosa. Falcons, a fade team for me. Look, I think we just need to get realistic that with Steve Sarkisian, this offense just isn't that good. Last 3 games, 13.7 points a game. If you watch Sunday evening, I mean, you notice that this offense just is really struggling. I mean, they don't look as crisp. They look nowhere near as crisp as they were. And they got a Jets team they're facing this week that's been very good against the spread, 3-0 at home. Hey, if they lose to the Miami Dolphins, who knows what will happen on the road here. They play 5 of their last 6 games against division opponents. They've lost 3 straight, and they're really just in a really tough way right now, the Falcons. Defensively, they've been decent, not great. I think they're more of like a bend but don't break. We'll see what happens. Overall, I know they have Matt Ryan. They have plenty of playmakers, but, I mean, guys, we're into almost November here, and they're still kind of struggling a little bit. You have the Saints coming up kind of in their wings. Tampa will be a tough game to play. Carolina is always decent. This isn't an easy division or anything. They don't have – they're not the Vikings where they can just kind of cruise because the next best team has their quarterback out. They're going to have tough games all year. They're not playing well. And Steve Sarkisian, I don't know if he doesn't look like the guy there. I mean, I've heard talk, we were talking Sunday night, Gabe and I, about maybe moving on from him, doing something different. It's just not working right now with Steve Sarkisian.
In bringing that up, I mean, who's the offensive coordinator before Kyle Shanahan? Is that right?
Yeah, Shanahan. Yep.
Where's he at now? Do we know?
He's at San Francisco. He's the coach.
San Francisco coach.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind. But we'll just leave it at that. All right. Ian Cameron, save me from that, buddy.
That's okay. Hey, that's all right. That's allowed.
Yeah, they're 0-7. Niners are 0-7 anyway, Drew. So really, where is he actually?
Yeah, where is he? You can't find him. Can't find him with a telescope.
Point up to bet on him, but guess that would have been wrong.
Well, when you got Hoyer and Beathard to work with, it's like, you're working with tools that aren't going to get the job done, for a handyman. So that's the way it goes. But Indianapolis, to me, a bet against team. I mean, I know you're not getting any point spread bargains right now to fade the Colts, but this is a mess of a team. This is a sieve of a defense. Jacksonville, of all teams, not that Jacksonville's a horrible offensive team, but the fact that they got shredded against the pass from Blake Bortles tells you all you need to know about how bad the Colts are on the defensive side of the football. That was really a pass-happy attack that the Jacksonville Jaguars employed last week against the Colts, and they had no problem putting up big points against this horrendous defense. And I mean horrendous. You look at the stats, 425 yards per game allowed, 6.6 yards per play allowed, 300 yards through the air allowed by this Colts defense. And I know Andy Dalton and the offense for the Cincinnati Bengals going into this game on Sunday certainly has been up and down. Been a little bit more up lately, though. I mean, I think Bill Lazor at the OC position, it's been a little bit of a breath of fresh air. They've gone with a little bit more tempo. They've gone with a little bit quick passing game, get the ball out of Andy Dalton's hands quickly. And on the flip side, we see Jacoby Brissett and this Colts offense look at times decent at home. On the road, they've really struggled. And even at home last week, they get completely shut out, unable to move the football, really even threaten. The one time they got into the red zone, I believe they turned the football over against Jacksonville. So Jacoby Brissett having growing pains. This Colts team certainly doesn't have the offense or the quarterback play to outscore their defensive problems. And now they're going into Cincinnati, tough spot. You got to sometimes hold your heart a little bit, hold your breath a little bit when you're thinking about laying points with Cincinnati, especially in this price range. But Colts are a complete fade to me right now. Not a lot to like there. Now, let's not forget that Pagano's terrible. I mean, the fact he's still there is ridiculous. I know they're trying to give him a little bit of a break for the health scare, but that's old news. It's time to think about football and what's best personnel-wise and coaching-wise for this team, and Chuck Pagano ain't it, period. To hell with what happened in the past. I know that's a terrible thing, cancer and that, but, it's time to move on. It really is.
All right, so we got fade Falcons, fade Colts. Donnie, anybody to add to that fade list?
There's a couple teams I had on there. Indianapolis, yes, would definitely be one. I mean, if you're just looking around, and say, well, what do they have to go for? They're now in look-ahead mode. And what I mean by that is coach going to get fired. Jacoby Brissett's not the future. People are just going to be internalizing, saying, all right, who are we going to keep next year? That doesn't bode well for going forward, because even if you took overall and looked at the Indianapolis schedule coming along, when they step up in competition, the way I like to talk about, 46-9 versus the Rams. You play a terrible Arizona team, 16-13. A terrible Cleveland team. Yes, you won 31-28, but then you step back up in class for Seattle, 46-18. You play San Francisco, who stinks, 26-23. You play Tennessee, who's a little bit better. You lose by 2 touchdowns. You play Jacksonville, who's better. You lose by 4 touchdowns, 27-0. So when you just take the MO and you're looking at the team, there's not really any layups left on that schedule. You're not going to play, the Arizona Cardinals again. You're not going to play San Francisco again. You're going to go out and play a real football team this weekend. So if you're looking to fade an organization instead of even just a team, I know we like to pick on Cleveland, but there's nowhere to go for Indianapolis right now. They're going to get shelled. So I'm just going to back up. I'm going to go again with the fade team. I'll stick with Ian as well. It's going to be the Colts for me, because there's no reason for them to win any more football games. When the coach is out the door, nobody else cares. It's self-preservation mode for that entire organization. They're going to play another good football team that needs to win. They're going to get shelled.
And I hate to be the guy here, but I'm going to be it. They haven't had a winning season and won't have a winning season in 3 straight years. It was 5 years ago he returned to coaching after having cancer. It's time to move on. This is a business. It's not a charity case. We're not here to give people jobs. It's a business. He's not been good enough. Move on, cut the dead weight, get a young coach in there like every other team started to do, and start to win again. The Rams did it. Other teams are doing it. It's time to wake up as a group there. Unfortunately, they're headed by people that have no real kin to town either. So it doesn't really surprise me. But that was 5 years ago. It wasn't last year. It was in 2012. Move on, fire the man and move on. Get someone else in there. Get some life back into this team. Figure out what you're doing at quarterback. All that stuff. How long, guys, is this defense? This defense has been bad for 3-4 years now. Just dreadful every year. They're just a bad football team. I mean, he's 3-3 in the postseason. He's not any horse whisperer or anything. For me, it's all over me. Get Pagano out of there. Move on.
And they have no pass rush, none whatsoever. I mean, the quarterback's got all day and all night to throw the football back there when they're playing this Colts team. And I agree, it's been an old boys club from a head coach's perspective for a long time. It's time to follow the lead of the Bills and the Rams, who've got a couple of good Seans in there, McVay and McDermott, two guys that I think are building a decent little coach of the year, reasoning so far with the way they've gone with their two teams so far. It's time to get younger. It's a younger league. It's a more offensive driven league. You need more creative, innovative, younger minds now in pro football. We're starting to see teams go that way. I think the Colts certainly should go that way as well.
The problem there is you have an owner that is, complete moron. I mean, we all know about him. I mean, he's a drunk. I mean, he probably doesn't even know what's going on half the time. It's a mess there. It's a shame because they had many good years. I mean, Peyton Manning and those guys, they've just fallen off and fallen away. It's time to move on from him.
There's an interesting organization. You have some blind spots. Like Andy Reid's blind spot in Philadelphia was the fact that saying you never need a really good wide receiver. You finally get one and dominate, then you throw him on the trash pile the next year and say you don't really need a wide receiver anymore. Looking back at the Colts' MO, their entire career, from basically when they got Peyton Manning, was they could never find anybody on defense that could play any football. They used to have, a couple good outside linebackers, and it used to be every year is, why don't we just put Bob Sanders on IR until the playoffs, and then maybe he can come back and help us a little bit, was always their MO. They lucked out getting into Peyton Manning, the #1 draft pick. Say what you want about, the previous GM, Polian, who always thought he was the genius, and he'll try to make an argument saying it was really close to draft Ryan Leaf. Well, he never put a roster around it. I'll give him very good credit for Edgerrin James, the Marvin Harrisons, Reggie Wayne, and Peyton Manning. Outside of that, they drafted terribly over the years, hid behind great quarterbacks, and who fell right into Andrew Luck with Peyton Manning getting that neck injury, then just letting Manning go. He had a couple good years. Now he's banged up as well. Future is low there. But in Indianapolis, because the coverage bad.
Another problem here is Jim Irsay didn't do anything to deserve this. He was handed it by his father. He didn't do anything.
Most of the same thing with Jed York. I mean, you could look at any ownership out there. They hand it down to a bunch of bums that just fall into the job.
And that's the problem here. I mean, what did Jim Irsay do to make his money in the world? Nothing. I mean, he didn't do anything. He failed in college, and he was handed a business. And a lot of people get it. Some people are good at it, and some people aren't. Jim Irsay's not been good at it. You're going to deal with this for a while because, unfortunately, unless he sells the team, it doesn't matter. Overall, he was handed a company, and he's failed at it mostly.
Yeah.
And the Rooney family's done good work in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, but that's not always the case for every franchise. You just don't get that stability at the ownership position with every franchise. And Colts haven't necessarily had that with Jim Irsay. Let's put it that way.
No, good discussion, guys. Hey, let's break down an NFL game. What way we're looking to bet it on the Sunday card. We got the Oakland Raiders, Buffalo Bills here. And one thing I noticed from researching this game is two teams ATS-wise, pretty much exact opposite profiles. We got Buffalo 4-1 ATS coming off their first loss against the number, going against Oakland, who just dropped 4 straight ATS, but won outright as in their last game as 3-point dogs to Kansas City. So two teams opposite directions as far as betting wise in their backers. How are we looking to bet this one? Big man, start us off.
Well, I mean, Buffalo's a team that I think we got to start kind of buying into a little bit here.
Hey, wait, big man. Yeah. Hey, let me cut you off a little bit. You got a mic issue.
Roboto, yes.
Yeah, you got a mic issue. So if you could just work that out, and we'll go right to Donnie. Donnie, how you looking to bet this one?
It's an interesting one. You picked out a really tough game to actually go over and cap. You're looking at Oakland coming off the bye, or coming off the mini bye, I should say, playing on Thursday Night Football with a really nice win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be without Marshawn Lynch, which again, I don't really know how much that's going to overall impact their offense. I do like the way the Buffalo Bills play, really like the way they play at home. But your first initial indication when you look at this game, you go -2.5. Like it seems a little bit cheap there if you're going to look to back the Buffalo Bills, who I think are overall the better team. But it's interesting with Buffalo. I like Buffalo when last week, -3 versus Tampa Bay, should have handled that, should have covered. covered it, made some mistakes late. Actually lucky to pull out that winner, getting that fumble late in the game. Buffalo as a favorite here, in most situations, I struggle with because I know they're a good football team. They're going to play defense. They're going to keep it close. But do they have the ability to step up? Because Oakland, if they get right, you're going to look at Carr a little bit healthier than he was in the past. 2 good wide receivers. Maybe they get a little bit of good mojo having that week off, pounding on the Kansas City Chiefs. But again, coming east is going to be a tough one. Buffalo plays very well at home. This is one of those games that, I could see it go either way with a coin flip. If I had to bet this football game, I do love home teams in this environment, especially when West Coast coming to East Coast and playing. But don't hold off because they're going to get a little bit rested and ready for this game. Oakland, I think Oakland can score on Buffalo, but I don't know if they have that determination on defense. I just think Tyrod Taylor can make a few extra plays with his feet to keep those chains moving. I would lean Buffalo in this situation, especially if it's under 2.5. If we're looking at 3.5, Drew, I might lean the other situation. But right now, give me Buffalo under 3.
Drew, your mic. Drew, your mic.
What's going on? What's going on over here? What is this?
His mic is muted.
His mic's muted. Mute your mic. Drew, your mic. The mic is off. Mic
My
on.
bad, bro.
There we go.
I was trying to give Steven a shout out in the chat here, saying Donnie has always really good NFL knowledge and good interesting facts. So hats off to you, Donnie, on the NFL stuff.
But I thought I gave such a good breakdown that you were just astonished. Like you just sit back and it's like that little meme that's like this.
No, sorry about that, guys. But big man, you back, man? Let's give your mic a try.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, good.
Yeah. As far as I agree with everything Donnie said. I mean, Oakland, you're just waiting for them to kind of show out and show up. I mean, they kind of did it last week, which you got to feel kind of confident in. They did it against a pretty solid defense, but now you're going to have to go on the road and do it again to a place in Buffalo that it's going to be tough to do it against. The thing about Buffalo is that I kind of like here is Buffalo's not a great pass defense, 20th in the league. The run defense is really good. I'd expect Oakland to probably just abandon the run here, which will be a little bit of a trouble because they'll start to, kind of just drop people back and make it more difficult. But Oakland, until they can find a way to run the ball a little bit, you have to have a little bit of ability to run the ball. No Marshawn Lynch, no real consistent running back. It's going to be difficult. This is going to be a cauldron you're going into. I mean, that's always a tough place to play. They're starting to gain confidence. And I got to tell you, I like Tyrod Taylor. He played well last week. Sean McCoy's starting to play out. He's a pretty good quarterback. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're starting to see that. I mean, you got to kind of grab and hold on to the people you have at this point. And I think Buffalo Bills fans are starting to see that he's the best option for your team. So you might as well just embrace it and move on. I don't trust the Oakland Raiders defensively whatsoever. I think you got to keep kind of riding this Buffalo Bills team here at home. A nice little line here. I think people will buy in a little bit to the Raiders, maybe thinking they're back, but I just really don't want to bet against Buffalo right now. So shout out to the Buffalo Bills fans playing well.
Riding Buffalo from Big Man. Ian, you agree with that?
I like the total more than the side. I'm going to look up and over the total here in this game. What are we looking at right now? 45 and a half in this game. Look, Buffalo's defense is making great strides this year under Sean McDermott. They're building some young playmakers back there. Poyer, Gaines, you go on down the list. There's a lot of new personnel that they've brought in, although he is questionable. You're going to want to watch that. They did lose some members of that secondary last week to injury against Tampa Bay. Gaines, one of those guys. He's got a hamstring injury, questionable right now. Sunday's game, key cog in that pass defense for the Bills. You're going to want to watch that. That's something that Derek Carr and the Raiders could be able to exploit here, and this is going to have to be a pass-heavy, pass-oriented Oakland offense here in this game. Down Marshawn Lynch. I mean, Jalen Richard, DeAndre Washington, you're not going to put your eggs in the running game, I think, with those two guys carrying the rock for you. So it's going to have to be through the air for Derek Carr, to Amari Cooper, to the tight end Jared Cook, to the weapons that he has to Michael Crabtree, Seth Roberts. You're going to have to look for guys like that down the field in the passing game if you're going to be able to move the football, especially with Buffalo's weakness a little bit due to injuries on that side in the pass defense. So that's something you're going to want to watch for. I think Oakland can move the ball against Buffalo's defense. They've been very, very good, but look at who they've played a little bit. Jets, not a great offense. Carolina, when Cam Newton was rusty, struggling, had no training camp or preseason early on in the season when Cam was not really playing that well. Denver's offense, which has really declined in recent weeks with Simeon. Atlanta, well, let's be honest. Atlanta's offense is overrated. They got Sarkisian that decides, let's on 4th and 1, 4th and goal, let's do a sweep instead of just handing the ball off shotgun or right under center there to Freeman for a touchdown. Disgraced by Sarkisian. That might have been the single worst play call I've seen in my lifetime. So let's get over ourselves with talking about how great Atlanta's offense is. Their coordinator's a dope, doesn't know what he's doing as far as I'm concerned. Cincinnati, again, a mediocre offense that perked up a little bit. And then Tampa Bay came in there and moved the ball pretty good against Buffalo last week with Jameis Winston. I think Oakland can do that, but I don't trust Oakland's defense. Come on, that's an Oakland defense that can be moved on. Tyrod Taylor, as always, consistently, since he's joined the Bills, he's been better at home than he's been on the road. And you look at the Bills last year in terms of their home games, they were an over machine at home last year. Every game, they were a perfect 8-0 to the over at home last year. More home games so far this season have gone over the number. I think we get a little bit of more points here than people think. I'll go over the 45.5 Raiders and Bills here.
All right, Ian, good breakdown, guys. And anything else NFL-wise before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, the NFL is what it is, week to week at this point. Some good games, some good spots this week that we can pick on. Thursday Night Football, I mean, if you like offense, you might want to close your eyes on that one on Thursday, though.
Yeah, not liking what, the Dolphins?
I actually like the Dolphins a little bit in that game. It was 3.5. I think 3.5 is a decent price if you're going to take a road team on a Thursday night. I don't like what Baltimore brings to the table, and we talked about it for a lot. Jay Cutler finally not starting at quarterback, get a little bit more mobility with Matt Moore in the football game, and I think they're actually a better overall football team without Cutler.
And it is the short week with them playing on Sunday, so it's a tough one. But all right, guys, hey, good discussion on the NFL.
Hey, I got to bail myself out here. SBR odds page. I just realized 45 is available on that total. Raiders.
No stale numbers.
45. No stale numbers. SBR odds. Stay on top of that. You'll always know what the live odds are at all times. 45 is out there. Get that number. Get the best of it at all times.
I wonder if Pete's watching right now. He'd be proud of you. But all right, guys, let's get into actually, we got over 120 people watching right now. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please give us a thumbs up, a like button. That helps us out a lot. But Ian, let's get to you, man. Let's talk Canadian sports. 60 seconds of Ian Cameron on the clock.
Well, we got 2 weeks left in the CFL regular season, and we know all the playoff teams. It's just a matter of positioning. Saskatchewan's clinched the final spot. They're going to cross over from the West Division to take on the East teams in the East side of the playoff bracket. So 2 weeks left of that. NHL, off to a pretty solid start, profitable start for me there at a 2-1 premium card last night, which was good to see. A couple of underdogs. All of them were underdog plays, and that's what I like. I like my plus price winners on the ice, and had a couple of those last night. How about the Vegas Golden Knights? 7-1. They do it again last night. They beat the Chicago Blackhawks as a huge home underdog. 7-1. Incredible start for this team. They're down to their third string goalie, Oscar Let's Dance. Put on your goalie pads and stop the puck. Oscar Dansk, a great job he did in net for the Golden Knights last night. Big win for them. They keep their great start to the season going. I know everyone's talking about the roof's caving in at some point. They got a road trip coming up, tough games, tough travel. I understand all of that. But maybe it's time to admit this team's maybe a little bit better than people think. Maybe going to be able to compete better than people think. Great story, Vegas Golden Knights. We'll see what it does the next couple weeks. That's something to watch moving forward. They finished their homestand against Colorado Friday night, then a long road trip. We'll see how it goes for them. But great start for the Knights. Maybe this team is indeed pretty decent.
So do you think they'll make the playoffs?
Everybody's now starting to think that. It's way too soon to say that. I'm not going to say they're making the playoffs. No, I've got to see what they do on this road trip. If they go on this 8-game road trip, a lot of it through the Eastern time zone, and they go 0-8, get shelled, get smoked, I'm going to have to probably, reconsider any playoff thoughts. Everybody should. But if they tread water, if they get out of that 7-game road trip, 3-4, 4-3, something like that, that's a positive. That's a good road trip in my mind for this team. So this road trip's going to go a long way to determining any sort of playoff fate.
So if it was even odds right now, them to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, which way would you bet it?
Even odds. Wow, even odds. I'm still leaning more no than yes, but this team's got a chance to prove me wrong on this road trip. I think that is huge for them. I mean, if they even have a 500 or near 500 road trip, they can legitimately start thinking maybe we can contend for the playoffs, if not make it. But this road trip's going to tell a lot of that story.
All right, good stuff, Ian. Thanks, man. And guys, let's get into college football. Let's go right around the horn. Team to bet on or team to fade. Jeff, you're a big college football guy. Why don't you start us off, man? Team to bet on?
Arkansas State. They're a team that I know we all understand and enjoy, but I think the people need to wake up on this team. They're right up there in the Sun Belt right now. Really have just been playing out of their minds lately, really, since that SMU loss. 47 points or more in 3 different games this year. They've scored 36 in all but 1 or more. So this offense is humming. I mean, quarterback Hansen, he's back to playing high-level football. This offense through the air has been really good. They have a couple really good running backs, Johnston White, Warren Wand. Overall, they've just been a really good offense. But, overall, they've just been so good against the spread. 5-1 this year. And they have owned this conference 15-4 over the last 3 years against the spread. This group just gets the job done against their opponents. And they have a big game coming up this week against New Mexico State. Donnie Wright said, and I talked about this one, the one concern for me for New Mexico State, in all their step-up games, they've seemed to fail this year. I think they're a good team. I think Arkansas State's a great team. They've really navigated through this conference with a lot of success. I know this is kind of in a way, a big game for them. I mean, you've looked in this conference, they haven't really played many great teams yet, but we're going to find out if I can use Joe Gavassi's phrase here, if New Mexico State's faux or for real, we're going to see this week over there in Las Cruces. I think Arkansas State's for real. I think they're the best team in this conference. They've pasted opponents. I really like this group. I'll continue to hang on. They've run really well in this conference over the years.
So you bring up the New Mexico State game, and it's kind of an interesting, tricky handicap because both teams seem to be pretty good ATS-wise. Are you involved this week, Big Man?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to send it out or be on it, myself. I like it though. I like Arkansas State. I mentioned that to Donnie Wright said last night. I think they're just a better team than New Mexico State. I wonder how healthy Larry Rose is. Again, until New Mexico State can go out and really beat a good football team or play well in this conference, the jury's still kind of out on them. I still think defensively they still have some question marks. I think if you're Arkansas State, this is a kind of a spot you've been able to go on and get the job done against. But again, the question for them also is, can they go on the road and take care of a good team? I mean, they've played really nobody in this conference so far. But yeah, I like them. I'm not looking to jump in front of them if that's your question. No.
Okay. Ian Cameron, what about you? Bet on team in college football?
Before the season, never expected this team to maybe make a bet on list for me, but I'm going to go Arizona State Sun Devils. I mean, this is a team now that is just, wow, they found something. This is a team that's perked up defensively. Man, the improvements in this team, I called them soft. I remember San Diego State just pummeled the football from on the ground right down their throat earlier this season. Let's not forget Texas Tech hung a huge number on them. Even New Mexico State moved the football against them in a game earlier this season. You look at their last 2 games, both wins against good Pac-12 teams, Washington and Utah. 17 points allowed in those 2 games combined. They outgained both teams by 130 combined total yards, 30-10, 13-17 wins over Utah and Washington. They're 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread. Their last 4 games, Manny Wilkins playing good enough at the quarterback spot. They've been able to run the football with a good amount of success as well. You look what they did, 205 yards on the ground. That's supposed to be a tough and physical Utah defensive front that they faced last week, and they ran the ball right down Utah's throat, almost 4.5 yards per carry and 205 rushing yards on the ground. I mean, Demario Richard, Balaj, 2 very good running backs carrying the ball here for this Arizona State team. Not only a team to bet on this week, in my opinion, but moving forward as well. And in terms of this week's game against USC, there could be a real balloon burst, bubble burst effect here for USC. You got absolutely drilled here by Notre Dame last week. Now the national title picture is out of the question. You're going to be in a dogfight maybe just to make a Pac-12 title game now. Is that motivation and that intensity slip for USC now after such a crushing, embarrassing loss last week to Notre Dame? Now you've got Sam Darnold playing through a little bit of an ankle injury. He's going to play here, but he's a little bit banged up. He's taken a little bit of a beating. Sort of an anti-USC spot here in this game, and an Arizona State team I'm looking to bet on. So put the 2 and 2 together. I think you know what side I'll be on here in that game.
All right, good stuff, Ian. And Donnie, what about you, man? Bet on team in college football?
Yeah, team no longer probably getting as much value as you would think, but I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. That's the Florida Atlantic Owls, as Jeff would call them, the land of misfit toys. You didn't know what you're going to get out of the gate from, but boy, have they really come around here. Throttled Middle Tennessee State, throttled Old Dominion, and really took apart a good North Texas team last week, 69-31. The thing that amazes me about this football team, making one simple change at quarterback and allowing them to run more a read option and an up-tempo offense. If you're looking at them from a running back perspective, Singletary, 6.6 yards per carry. Howe, 6.9 yards per carry. White, 8 yards per carry. That's your top three running backs. Every time you hand the football off, you're damn near getting a first down. It's an amazing turnaround that they've made. And again, North Texas plays pretty good defense and pretty good offense there. Last week alone, if you're looking to FAU at home, 447 yards on the ground, averaging 9.3 yards per carry versus North Texas, and also 357 through the air, putting up over 800 yards of offense there, or close to 800 yards of offense versus a good North Texas team. They're going to be going on the road now, and you see the respect now. Instead of just laying those 3.5, or maybe getting points, they're laying 7 on the road this week. They're a buy-on team for me going forward. Maybe the single best offense in that conference now that they switched quarterbacks from Parr to Driscoll. They're really impressive, but no longer under the radar.
Yeah, I like that one, Donnie, for sure. Hey, guys, I want to throw one out there. Feel free to chime in on the UMass Minutemen. Buy-on candidate, I'll throw it out there as mine. I know they're a 1-6 team, but when you look at their last 4 games, they covered against Temple, had that great game against Tennessee covered. They lost against Ohio, but that's a pretty damn good Ohio team, and they hung tough. And then Georgia Southern really took it to them. I mean, matchup standpoint in having 3 weeks off to become to get their injuries out of the way, really become healthy. I think that that UMass is kind of a good bet on candidate there. Anybody have an objection to that?
I think unfortunately with UMass, I think you might have. I mean, I don't know if you've been betting them, but I think you're maybe a little late on them, really. I mean, you look at the next couple games for them: App State, Mississippi State. That those are going to be tough football games. But they have played really well. I mean, overall, they've been a really, I think for bettors, an impressive team. I mean, I was one to call them. I didn't think they were very good, and they're not. And they're 1-6, but they've hung around in games. They've been competitive. The Tennessee game was impressive. They missed out on South Florida, so they kind of dodged a bullet there. But yeah, I'm concerned that maybe the boat's a little bit late on them, but we'll have to see. I mean, the numbers are going to tell the tale there. App State's a team that I haven't looked at that line yet, but the Appalachian State Mountaineers do not cover big numbers. I mean, they never do. It's
only like 4.
Quite amazing. Yeah, I'm just saying in general, but yeah, that number it's for me hard to bet. I mean, that's telling me that they think UMass is close to being as good as App State. I don't see it. App State should be able to take care of business in that game. If they can't, they have a real problem. When you're laying 20 plus with App State, you got to worry. But at that number, I don't really see a problem with it. But a team, Drew, I'd bet against right now is, and I'm not going to surprise anyone here, but we have to discuss how poor they really have been. Brigham Young University. I mean, they're 0-8 against the spread. They've not covered a game this year. They're 1-7 overall, and this is a team in uncharted territory. They usually aren't as bad. They're usually a team that makes a bowl every year. Their kids can be proud, but overall, I mean, they've just been awful. I mean, 16-point loss to Eastern Carolina. I mean, you're losing by 16 to the Pirates. You got a little bit of a problem. They've turned the ball over 12 times in 4 games. 12 times in 4 games. Tanner Mangum is still a junior, by the way, which is amazing to me. We'll have another year of him, but he just had a brutal career. I mean, through injuries and just overall poor play. They're 127th in offense, scoring offense in the country. 12 points a game, guys. I mean, it's just not good enough. And what makes it more amazing is they're laying double digits this week to San Jose State. The season's for this team over. You got to wonder about motivation for a team that's used to playing in a bowl game. What's the thinking pattern there? They have injuries out the wazoo. It's just they're just a bad team right now. And when your coach is talking about, you're motivated, they haven't had any chemistry, that's not good right now. If you want to lay 12 on the road with them, good luck. But they're only averaging 12 points a game. I mean, how are you going to lay 12.5? BYU's a mess. Pure mess.
And you know what? We got to give ourselves the old golf clap for last week. I think all of us had East Carolina in that degenerate special. We all said, BYU. Wasn't that the game we talked about last week? I think we all said it. We prefer East Carolina getting the points and at least an explosive offense. They could put some points on the board, and they end up taking care of business. So that was good. Going back to UMass just for a second, Drew. I mean, we talk about how good they've been point spread wise. Let's not forget though, in terms of straight up 1-6 still. I mean, it's still not a team that's won. They're going to have to come damn close to winning this football game against App State in order to cover the number. So I think there's been an adjustment, maybe a little bit of a severe adjustment here being made on UMass. Yeah, I'm not ready to trust them here in this kind of spot.
No, it's a good point, and it's always tough to bet on those type of teams. But
and the one win was against Georgia Southern as well, which of course just fired Tyson Summers, which is about damn time as far as we're all concerned. But that was their one win. So let's see what they can do as they step up a little bit in class with the App State Mountaineers coming in.
Yeah, and it's also worth pointing out, I mean, this is not the same App State team of years past. They're just talent-wise, coaching, I'm not really sure, but it's not last year and the year before's App State team, that's for sure.
No, that is true.
Hey, anybody got anything, big man? You might have something on Georgia Southern. Do you think this is possibly a buy low opportunity on them with the coaching change?
No, not really. I mean, I'm normally interested in these kind of spots. I love it in like soccer and stuff. Baseball is a good one, but I mean, at this point, I mean, this team's 0-6. I mean, they just got crushed by UMass. If you're going to make a coaching change, you would want to be in the next game for them to really. I mean, last game you lose by 35 off a coaching change. That's not good. That tells me that they have no motivation right now. They're not excited about the growth of this program. I'd imagine we'll see plenty of people transfer away from Georgia Southern. They're in a rebuild mode at this point. They have no idea what they're doing at any level, really. I mean, you go down in the first quarter 28-7 to the UMass Minutemen, you got a bit of a problem. I don't have any interest in Georgia Southern. They made me a lot of money a couple years ago with, the Kevin Ellison group with, Matt Breida and those guys back before Tyson Summers, when Willie Fritz was still there. That was the years of money making for Georgia Southern. We're a long way away from those years. They're a program, and it's sad to see because they were such a force a couple years ago. Now they're bad. No, I have no interest in getting anywhere near that.
I actually picked on Georgia Southern a little bit last week with UMass. Was one of my premium plays given out, and it was a great spot for UMass. UMass had 3 full weeks off to get ready for that triple option offense. And if you do your digging here, which I'm a huge, film nut with ESPN3. I mean, I'm sitting there watching New Mexico State and Georgia Southern right down to the last play of the game. Why was I doing that? Because Shea Wertz, their quarterback, goes down on the very last play. Most people tuned out. Most people didn't know. If you try to ask Tyson Summers during the week what's wrong with his quarterback, we'll maybe get him ready. He got rocked and didn't even know where he was to end the game. It was a no-brainer he wasn't playing last week. That was an easy win. Now, coming back, if Shea Wertz plays, he is their offense for Georgia Southern. So if he's out of this football game, you're going to get another pasting playing in this one. Something instead of maybe looking at a side in this one, look at the over 50.5. Number one, we know Georgia Southern doesn't play very good on defense, but if they can get their quarterback, who's their entire offense, and makes it run, that over is a decent play.
Yeah, but even, I mean, Donnie makes a point. I mean, Shea Wertz is good, but even him, I mean, he sucks. I mean, for I guess for Georgia Southern, he's good, but
yeah, I mean, you see the overall kid that played last week. I mean, they were awful last week. At least he gives them that, somewhat of a, I can put up 20 points in a football game because I can run this offense effectively. He's not great with his arm, but he's really good on the ground. They can put up 20 points versus Troy, and Troy's going to hit 30 against that Georgia Southern.
But the concern against Troy is, I mean, Troy's a good run defense. I mean, I don't know about it. Donnie's right. Shea Wertz is their best quarterback, but I got to tell you, I don't know that it matters really. I mean, Troy's off of a bad loss against that South Alabama team. That was a bad loss. I'd expect them to come out and really kind of want to take it to. Georgia Southern is at a really low point.
Well, they made up for it, big man Troy. They pasted Georgia State this past weekend. They crushed them. So Troy to me is a team I want no part of their games right now. I can't figure out what they're going to do week to week. We've seen them. They were lackadaisical against Boise. We saw them get steamrolled by South Alabama on a national TV midweek home game. Then they bounce back and look great again. It's like good, bad, good, bad. Troy's been a weird football team this year. Really weird.
Guys, we got to get into a little breakdown here. Let's go over the marquee matchup for this week. 179, 180. We got NC State, Notre Dame. Looks like a total of 60.5, -7. There's one -7.5 out there at the Greeks on SBR odds page right now. Donnie, you want to lead us off with this breakdown?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Notre Dame. I like the way they played football last year. Me and Jeff joked around yesterday that maybe Brian Kelly was out there shaking too many hands, and maybe he was right when we all made fun of him, saying that he had to fundraise too much last year and couldn't concentrate on the football team, because they're a completely different brand right now. Physical football, playing read option, good running back, good defense. But the one thing, I like to say is NC State, if you look at them 6-1 overall, you wouldn't think that because they get no play out there. I mean, they beat Florida State away, which at the time seemed like a much bigger win, but everybody goes to Florida State and beats them now. You hang on to beat Syracuse, who's a decent football team, hung with Miami, beat LSU, and then you see the Louisville win 39-25, and then you beat Pittsburgh 35-17, and you're coming off a bye week heading into this game. I think there's value here with NC State. They're one of those teams that flies under the radar. Everybody sees Notre Dame. Everybody, oh my God, they blew out USC last week. So now I'm going to have to roll with ND. I'm going to try to make a case to take the opposite team here, which would be NC State, and hanging in that number. Because again, it all boils down to, I'm not asking NC State to win the football game, just asking them to stay close, and I think they can.
I like it, Donnie. I agree with you. Ian, anything to add on to that?
100,000, not 100%, 1,000% agreement with Donnie. I'm an NC State guy. I've been backing this team multiple times this season. I've had them multiple times against Florida State, against Louisville. I think another time I was on them as well. No, just those two. Louisville and FSU. But again, an underrated team, undervalued team all season. 6-1 straight up so far on the campaign, especially here in the underdog role. You look at what they've been able to do. One outright as a dog at Florida State. One outright as a slight home dog against Louisville. This is the point spread role I like NC State in. I like Ryan Finley. He's got the coordinator that's been with him forever. I mean, Eli Drinkowitz and Ryan Finley, the quarterback, OC and quarterback, have been together now for like 4 or 5 years, going back to Boise State. So this group now has cohesion and chemistry, offense, can run the football very effectively. You look at NC State, 4.6 yards per carry, 177 yards per game on the ground. And I know, Notre Dame's everyone's talking about this Notre Dame ground attack, and it's really good. It is really good. But let's pump the brakes a little bit. They faced a USC defense last week that is a soft defense against the run that was shredded with injuries on the defensive line going into that game against Notre Dame. That's not the case with NC State. Their strength is up front, along that front seven. That NC State team has given up 3 yards per carry, 91 rushing yards per game. That means that's going to put the game more in the hands of Wimbush at the quarterback spot. This is going to have to be a team that does a little bit more in the passing game, I think, to win this game. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football against NC State to the extent they did against USC. I think this is a down-to-the-wire game, and if NC State wins it, remember, they beat Notre Dame last year, wouldn't shock me. Give me the points with NC State. In this role, this is where I like the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that matchup profile. I think NC State defensively up front can hold their own. Big man, you want to add anything to this game?
Yeah, for the record, I mean, that game last year was in a hurricane, but again, they won, so that's all that matters, right? NC State off a bye here, well rested, and they can't just hold their own. They're the 6th best rush defense in the college ranks. So Bradley Chubb and that group, they're going to be ready for this. And I said it last night that Donnie Wright said, the last time Notre Dame faced a defense this good, they had some trouble. Brandon Wimbush, I don't trust him through the air. He's going to have to really prove it, because if he can prove it here, they're going to win, and probably win going away, because NC State is a poor pass defense. I mean, they're good up front. If they can get to the quarterback, it'll be a long day. But if he can pick them apart downfield, it might be a long day for NC State. But overall, I think it's a good matchup. They're a big-time rush defense. And look, I mean, they've been good on the road against the spread. 9-4 in their last 13. They have a good 3-headed monster kind of on offense. Finley, Jalen Samuels, and Naheem Hines. Hines has been really good in the backfield, 5.5 yards a carry. I think they'll do a good job on defense of stopping Josh Adams and company. At 7.5, I would go with the Wolfpack. You can still get one out there. I would lean that way. For me, it's a close game, comes down to the wire, especially off a bye. I think that's important. Plus, you look at NC State, I mean, so much to play for. I mean, in first place in their side of the division, they're really kind of in the driver's seat. This would go a long way. This would move them up the rankings a little bit. I really like the spot for the Wolfpack. If Notre Dame runs away with this game, I'll be surprised. But they can do it. They just got to do it through the air. I'm not sure I can trust Brandon Wimbush to do it, though.
Yeah, sounds like we're all pretty much in agreement. Guys, let's move on to the Degenerate Special. I think we've been on a hell of a run here with these, so let's keep it going. We got Texas State and Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt. Looks like Texas State comes in losing 4 straight, both straight up and ATS. Looks like they've lost 6 straight, just straight up. And Coastal Carolina just got a cover against App State, who we were just talking about, but before that lost 5 straight ATS. Coastal Carolina new to FBS level and in the Sun Belt. So I guess, Ian, you want to start us off? How are you going to bet this Degenerate Special of the week?
This is a tough Degenerate Special. I actually kind of semi-liked East Carolina last week against BYU. This one is a real tough one. I know with Coastal Carolina, I've had some good success at times over the total with this team. I mean, just they've struggled, and I know this is a newbie here in the FBS ranks for sure, but they've definitely had their share of woes on the defensive side of the football. You look at these point totals that the Chanticleers giving up on a weekly basis: 52, 51. 27 to Georgia State, who's a pedestrian offense, 51 to Arkansas State, 37 last week to App State. And it's a team that's gone over in all but one game, 6-1 over the total this year, Coastal Carolina. Texas State, on the other hand, they're a team that's struggled offensively. That's the biggest concern with them. They haven't had any sort of consistency on that side of the ball, only averaging slightly over 300 yards per game, total yards this season. Not great by any stretch. It's been disappointing because I thought this team had a decent quarterback, some decent skill position talent coming into the season, but just haven't been consistent enough offensively. But defensively, they're pretty much just as bad here as Coastal Carolina, giving up over 400 yards per game, nearly 6 yards per play. Not good whatsoever. Coastal Carolina, they really want to be able to run the football. That's where they do their biggest damage. They're better run team than a throwing the football team. They've been able to do that. Texas State, is okay against the run, but not great. But either way, total sitting at around 53 and a half. You just keep riding Coastal Carolina over the total. I don't like the side, but if I bet this game, I'd look up and over that number.
Okay. And Jeff, what about you? Any follow-up to that?
Yeah, I think Ian's onto something there. I think. I mean, neither of these teams is good defensively, but I also could make the case that Texas State is pretty bad offensively. I mean,
yes, exactly.
They've only scored more than 20 points once this year. They only scored 7 points last week against UL Lafayette. They've had a little bit of a problem here. I mean, the problem is Damian Williams, the kid from Mississippi State, has been poor. Willie Jones III has been kind of the best quarterback, but they don't play him enough. And then they have this Hutch White kid that they threw in last week for one play, and he scored a touchdown, 47-yard touchdown. Very weird group of quarterbacks here right now. This line is a tough one, though. This is the toughest Degenerate Special we've done so far. I think if you can get Texas State to score 17-24, which I think they can. I think you're going to be able to get an over here. Coastal's been able to move the ball. They have a pretty decent quarterback, Tyler Keene. Abercrombie's a good running back. I think 53 might just be a little too low. I thought it'd be more like 56, 57. If Texas State can get on the board here, twice, maybe hit 17, I think this game will go up and over. I think this is a game Coastal Carolina will possibly in an ability to cover. I think they might be up 10 late. It's going to be about will they give up a backdoor or not. I'm going to agree with Ian and go over 53, but this is a really, really tough game from my side of the window.
Yeah, side perspective, I'd lean to lay points before taking it. And it is worth noting they did beat UMass by 10 on this field early in the season.
Right.
Yeah, the one game I faded them, they won. But Donnie, anything to add to them?
I mean, if you just break it down to its simplest element, both these teams are 1-6. Neither one of these teams have no idea how to win. So when you just break that down into its single form, I can't lay 8 points with a team that doesn't know how to win, just steps up. I mean, I've watched, games for Coastal Carolina. I've watched Western Illinois annihilate this football team at home. I know Texas State stinks. The one thing they do okay, 3.7 yards per carry on defense. They're not a sieve like 6 to 7 yards like some of these really bad football teams typically are. I think they can keep the game close, but all it boils down to is I don't even know if Coastal Carolina can win football games. Now you're asking them to almost cover by double digits. Give me the points on its simplest element in this one. Neither one of these teams are ready to win football games, and I'm damn sure not laying more than a touchdown with one that thinks they can win this one. I'll take Texas State in the points.
Western Illinois would crush Texas State also.
But I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, if you're 1-6, you better be favored by 1 point if I'm going to back you. I mean, good luck. I mean, hey, maybe they can blow them out, but if you stink, that means you have struggling to even win, cover, or hang in football games. Give me the points all day long.
Yeah, I agree with you, Donnie. And plus,
they're off a bye week. They're off a bye week as well. 2 weeks to get ready. I mean, they stink, but at least say what you want about Coastal Carolina. Their offense is a little bit funky out there. They'd rather run an up-tempo running style offense. Handing the football if they have some good backs. So at least they have 2 weeks to get ready, and they don't have to win the football game. I think they can hang around with a bad Coastal Carolina team.
The only thing that would concern me is maybe they just outscored Texas State. Texas State is really poor on offense. I mean, they could just kind of roll in here and say, well, we're just going to outscore this team and do it. I mean, they're a good offense, but can they stop anyone? That's kind of, I think where Ian and I think we're kind of hoping that they can just put up the 20 points and that's, if they just put up 20 points, I think this game will go over. But yeah, it's a tough one to back. I could see the case for either side.
And I have some truly stunning, surprising, and shocking news for all of you and all our viewers. This game will not be on my card this Saturday. It's shocking, I know. It's stunning, but that's
I would have thought this was
reality
to play for you.
Yeah.
You play about 18 other games, so I thought this would definitely be on your card, Ian.
All right, guys, good stuff. Anything else you want to throw out there, sports betting wise in college football?
That's not a great year in college football. That's one thing I do know. There's one very good team, and then there's everyone else. So, not a great year for high level teams, but we'll
good
see.
Game at 3:30 though. I'm looking forward to that Penn State Ohio State game though. That'll be pretty fun at 3:30. Usually they lock them all down and give you 9 straight good games at 8 o'clock at night. At least you're getting one in the afternoon this time.
And guess what? I know Best Bets is coming up. My Best Bet's coming from that Penn State Ohio State game. So
that's
I'm looking forward to that.
That's a teaser right there.
Teaser. Stay tuned.
How about that?
Stay tuned. All right. Well, next up is Best Bets, I believe. So let's not waste much time and just say, don't be a lurker. Please give us a thumbs up, a like sign if you're liking the content. Ian, let's go. What's the best bet?
Best bet, Penn State and Ohio State. You tell me if either of these teams have faced an offense so far that is as good as what they're going to see this Saturday. I'm not convinced. Look at Penn State's list of offenses that they've played. They've played really nobody. Michigan with O'Korn can't do much. Indiana's been erratic. They've played Georgia State's and Akron's and Northwestern, and Indiana's offense been a disappointment to me. Iowa's offense not exactly explosive by any stretch. So this is a step up for Penn State on the defensive side of the football here, facing JT Barrett, this Kevin Wilson up-tempo offense, which, boy, has hit their stride in recent weeks. Outside of the first half against Indiana, the first week of the season, and the Oklahoma game, this has been an Ohio State offense that nobody's been able to stop. I mean, they've really gotten things cranked up on that side of the football. Barrett playing with confidence. They're able to run it. They're very balanced on that side of the ball. It's going to be a Penn State defense going to have their hands full. However, you could also turn it around and look at the other side of this equation and say, oh, how good's Ohio State's defense? You played Tanner Lee in Nebraska, and Tanner Lee's had a horrendous season. Interceptions have plagued him left and right. You faced Maryland, who have been decimated and just crushed by quarterback injuries all season long, down to Bortenschlager at the quarterback position. Sounds like a German beer, by the way. Bortenschlager there, that name from Maryland. Some Fleiten Sie Deutsch. Let me get a little stein of some German beer. But Rutgers, they've got no offense whatsoever. UNLV, okay, but not great. Army, Oklahoma, the one good offense they've played, they gave up 31 points in that game. Ohio State and Baker Mayfield on the road was able to move the football against this Buckeyes team. So I think Trace McSorley, a decent amount of receivers, but specifically McSorley, Barkley running the football, going to be able to do some things here against Ohio State. Surprisingly, a total that's stuck in the mid-50s range all week. It actually has gone up a little bit earlier today. Give me the over here. We're going to go over 56.5. Weather's supposed to be good in Columbus on Saturday. Over 56.5 with Penn State, Ohio State. That'll be my best bet this week on the Roundtable.
All right, over 56.5, Penn State, Ohio State. Jeff Nadeau, find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Big man on campus, what's your best bet?
I'm going to go back. I'm going to give out one today. I'll kind of stay with that. I like to give one the day of. I'm going to go to Serie A in Italy, Italian soccer. We get a little midweek action for the boys. I like it. The Cugines are going today. I like, let's go 125, Lazio minus 130 here against Bologna. Yes, Bologna, not the cold cut. Not the cold cut, the actual town. Lazio is in great form, boys. They've won 10 of 11 matches in all competitions. Ciro Immobile is one of the best strikers in the world and in Italy. Look for him to grab a couple goals today. The Bologna team, they're struggling to score goals. No real goal scorer on this team. They don't have a Ciro Immobile on this team. They've also, guys, last year in 8 matches against the top sides at home, lost all 8 of them. They're just a team that is just kind of a middling team. The concern you always have to arise here, and this is a very truthful thing I'm about to say, these are interesting matches because a lot of the time a team at home like this, they might get a little coin from the boys, the wise guys in the corner. The Mafia is very real in Serie A, but I think Lazio in their form right now will go and be able to get the job done here on the road. Bologna had a good winning streak. They lost over the weekend. I think they kind of fall back into just being a mediocre Serie A team. Let's go to Italy today, and let's take a look at 125 Lazio minus 1. It's out to 131. We'll go minus 131 in this one. Look for them to get the job done.
Big man, I like it. So you got Lazio minus 130 to win the game, right?
All they got to do is win. Yep.
Okay. All right. Donnie, what about you, man?
Yeah, we'll keep it simple. We'll go to baseball. Yesterday, we joked around on the right side of campus and also the closing line that, Clayton Kershaw minus 500 or less. There's pretty much value in the game regardless of who they're playing anywhere, anytime. They did pick up that victory. I don't even like to say I even gave that out as a winner because that just seemed like free money yesterday. But today we're going to go right back to this game. Not actually on a side, but I'm going to lead on a total over 7.5 in this ball game tonight. Last night, hot weather, but hey, if the ball's going to carry, that's all fine and good. But when you can't even hit the baseball, an over-under doesn't really matter what type of conditions are out there. 2 hittable pitchers on the mound tonight. I know, hey, Verlander's been great. This and that. He's coming over. It's fantastic. Oh, my God, everything's good. But that weather's still going to be 95, 96 degrees. Rich Hill's going to be on the mound. I think Houston's going to be able to hit tonight. So seeing a side, getting 3, 4 runs from each side tonight, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Is it going to be a 12, 13-run game? No, I don't think so. But I think they're going to be able to get over the total of 7.5. I'll go for that as my roundtable wager of the week.
All right, Donnie on the World Series over tonight, 7.5. I'll finish this off in the Sun Belt. Big man hit on it earlier. Arkansas State, I just think they're underrated. So still a 3.5 out there using the SBR odds screen right now at 5 dimes. I'm going to back Arkansas State minus 3.5 against New Mexico State. So anything else before we close this down, guys?
Yeah, quick for me, 3:30 Eastern special time today, Premier League. We're breaking it down. We're all in profit, I believe, other than I think one of us. Not me, though. I'm in profit. Join us today, Premier League punters. We'll go over week 9 in England. Can't wait. I got to tell you guys, I love football, but I love talking soccer a little bit more. Join me today, Premier League punters, 3:30 Eastern.
Yeah, all right. For me, it's busy Wednesday as always. We got Donnie closing line later. We've got Gabe tonight. We've got NHL Ice Guys tomorrow. And I'm telling you, college basketball in a couple weeks. We're doing something, Big Man and I, together for college basketball. I can't wait for that. That'll be a lot of fun. It's only a couple weeks away.
Ian and I, maybe a little quick video every week. I don't know. We'll see. But we got to get Ian Cameron and me on the show together. We'll be back for the roundtable. I am close, boys, to be done with my breakdowns on college basketball. I'm watching exhibition stuff. I can't wait. Hoops is coming up. I watched Kansas and Missouri play over the weekend. Seeing Michael Porter was like seeing, like seeing that wise guy in the corner when you're 12 years old. You just want to do everything he does. Michael Porter's a god. I can't wait to watch him. Come on.
Finally, it's pumping some life back into Mizzou.
Love it. His brother's there too. It's going to be a 1-2 punch at Missouri this year. Watch out for the Tigers.
We're also planning something for college basketball, Big Man. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. Starting off in the morning and just live streaming in 2 Fridays from now when college basketball tips off. So we'll all be a part of that. Just stay tuned for that. And,
sign me up for February. Yeah, sign me up for February for that show. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, no, the games will be streaming on in the background, and you can talk about whatever you'd like. When you're
If you're not talking college basketball, we don't want you on. Move on.
All right, sorry about that, Donnie. But guys,
Don't
I guess
don't besmirch college basketball in front of the big man.
I love college
You'll have hell to
basketball.
pay
But it
you.
really doesn't start till February, so save your money.
Why doesn't it start till February?
Nobody knows what happens in the beginning of the season, so
Yeah, you're the only one that's figured that out, Donnie, I guess.
See?
We'll bet on non-conference. Grambling, Oregon. Love it. Can't wait.
Good opportunities in November. I'll say that to bet.
Amen.
All right, boys. Good roundtable. Please give us a thumbs up, a like. Make sure to check out SBR Picks, everything going on. We'll be back next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in.